Our extremely active weather pattern over the country will continue this weekend, bringing multiple days of severe thunderstorms with large hail, damaging winds, and a few tornadoes possible. The atmosphere will be primed for days of storms on end over the same areas, potentially compounding impacts with damage from severe storms and potential flooding possible. We're also tracking an early season heat wave developing over portions of the eastern coast, a lot of rain and snow on tap for California, and a look ahead into a potential pattern change towards the end of April. Today is Saturday, April 11th. We've got a lot to talk about. Millions of people are in the crossfire. Today in the weather world, let's dive into the impacts and threats. We'll divide our severe weather coverage into two parts. First, we'll talk about the short term, which will be this weekend. Then we'll go a little bit further into the future, into next week, as severe weather will continue, unfortunately. For today, day one, we have a large marginal risk extending from Texas into the plains all the way up to the southern portions of Minnesota. The highest severe weather risk, though, will definitely be in the slight risk across portions of Texas, where more of a line of damaging storms are expected to develop. Now, within this region, hail and wind is really the biggest threat. The tornado threat is not zero, but it's much lower, so we're not necessarily concerned about any sort of tornado outbreak. We'll jump right into the model, because what I'm noticing is by the time we're waking up on Saturday morning, we'll have a decent complex of rain that's already moving through portions of the plains. From Nebraska, Iowa, portions of the Dakotas, and Minnesota, you could be waking up to some moderate rain. Most of this will be sub-severe. A few lightning strikes, claps of thunder can't be ruled out, but none of the strong storms with hail or wind is expected. A little bit further south, though, notice that we get some more activity across Texas. We have a lot of moisture in place, and that's going to result in these spotty storms as the atmosphere kind of spits out some of the excess moisture. These also shouldn't necessarily be severe yet. As we go later in the afternoon, though, as the atmosphere re-energizes and destabilizes, some of these storms developing could start becoming strong to severe. I'm watching across portions of Kansas and Oklahoma. Some of these cells here could bring gusty winds and large hail as soon as 4 or 5 on Saturday, so something to watch, especially if you have any afternoon plans across the plains. Storms will only become more likely through the afternoon. A little further south, though, the main focus will definitely be across Texas, where some sort of line of storms is expected to form over West Texas, and these storms sparking off the dry line will eventually form into this cluster that will move toward the I-35 corridor, bringing especially gusty winds, but also some large hail is possible as these storms move east. So this is where that slight risk of severe weather is located, and that's where the highest concern is for today. Segueing over into tomorrow on Sunday, notice our severe weather risk expands a little bit further north, but the highest risk of severe weather remains over some of the same areas, which is primarily Texas, but now extending a little north into Oklahoma and southern Kansas. So anyone from Minneapolis to Omaha, Kansas City, Wichita Falls, down to Houston, Austin, watch out for some more scattered storms, but especially across Texas, that's where the greatest coverage of severe weather is expected. So picking up where we left off, we can see that line of storms moving eastward toward the I-35 corridor. It'll weaken as it do so, but that'll be the beginning part of our slight risk, which will actually start in the beginning of the day. So watch out for some morning storms across Dallas, potentially into Austin and Waco. Further north, we'll just have some lighter, more scattered showers. This activity doesn't really look severe to me, but watch out for a wet start to your day. Now through the day, this activity will continue to move further to the northeast, and as it does so, isolated severe storms are possible. Really across the plains and the Midwest, it's not looking like a big severe weather day, but a few of these isolated large hail, gusty winds is possible, so stay on the lookout. Over Texas, though, our severe weather threat will redevelop into the afternoon as some more activity builds in, and some of this could also bring some gusty winds and large hail. Don't necessarily let your guard down, because we'll just have a lot of energy in place where some more scattered storms are possible. So greatest risk is definitely across Texas, potentially into portions of Oklahoma, but I'm not seeing too strong of a signal for that. Areas further north is more isolated, not necessarily a widespread severe weather outbreak. However, we do still want to stay weather aware. Sunday is kind of the edge of how far we can confidently predict the severe weather. Past that, the details become a lot more uncertain, and even between the models there is some noticeable discrepancies. However, we do have enough early confidence to highlight some general areas for severe weather. So this is on your day Monday. You have a pretty expansive slight risk of severe weather from Texas up into the plains and into portions of the Midwest. Notice these are some of the same areas that just saw severe weather on Sunday, so it'll be kind of back to back. Tuesday, 5 days out from this recording, is actually looking to be our biggest severe weather day and potentially the most destructive. Notice how our slight risk expands even further, still encompassing those same areas in the southern plains into the central plains, but now encompassing more of the Midwest. We're including Chicago, Detroit, Indiana, portions of Wisconsin, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the time of watching this video or in the days to come, we get an upgrade to an enhanced risk, because Tuesday definitely looks like the worst day of severe weather. Even on Wednesday, though, in some of those same areas, still another severe weather risk. You can see how storms over these same areas can kind of get severe weather fatigue from back-to-back-to-back storms, but each day still carries a threat that we need to take pretty seriously. This is on Wednesday, and there's still a lot of uncertainty, but as we get closer especially, we'll be able to work out more of those details. One thing contributing to all of our storms is a big surge of moisture moving north. Anyone in the blue, that's ample moisture for some severe storms, especially in that purple though. That's where the threat is even higher, because we'll just have a lot of moisture and a lot of energy advecting north, and you can see how it kind of just sits over the same areas for several days. This is why that severe weather threat is maximum maximize and really stalling over the same areas over again. So moisture will be abundant. We'll also have abundant energy. This is thunderstorm energy, convective available potential energy. Notice some of these hot spots. These are the first yellows that are really showing up this season, where some pretty high Cape values are present. So if storms form, they could easily tap into all of this energy. This right here is on Tuesday. This is why Tuesday is looking particularly concerning. Notice that explosion of high energy over portions of the Midwest into the plains. If thunderstorms form over these areas and tap into this energy, which we think they will, very large hail, gusty winds, and the tornado threat could potentially be damaging. So Tuesday is popping out as one of the more dangerous days out of this outbreak, but every day still deserves its own attention, and even low-end severe weather does continue into Wednesday, though as we get later into the week, the instability might generally decrease. So taking a look at a broad picture of what this means, past Sunday, once again, we don't want to focus on the specific details because there's still a lot to be worked out, a lot of discrepancies between the models even. It does look like the Monday severe weather threat will mainly come into the afternoon and later on in the evening, potentially into the overnight into Tuesday as well. So through much of the day, we'll stay pretty dry, at least according to this model, but by the afternoon and evening hours, this is 10 p.m., we get some of those storms forming, potentially over Minnesota, potentially a few over Texas. I will say Monday severe weather threat does look relatively lower compared to the days surrounding it, so we still want to be on guard. However, Tuesday, that's the day we're really highlighting as potentially the most dangerous. We can see numerous showers and storms developing across portions of the Midwest, some more across Oklahoma and Texas. Any of these cells, very large hail, gusty winds, tornadoes are possible. That tornado threat looks particularly high across portions of the north. So the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, those areas highlighted in that site risk. That's where the most energy and spin is in the atmosphere for tornadoes. So we'll have a lot more details in the coming days. I'll make another video zooming in on this threat as we get closer and we have more confidence. But for now, an early heads up, we have a lot of lead time to prepare for a potentially dangerous tornado day on Tuesday. Even on to Wednesday though, scattered to numerous showers and storms over much of the same areas, developing once again Wednesday afternoon, and this is kind of that back-to-back continued onslaught of severe weather that is possible. As storms fall, rainfall becomes an increasing concern, and you can kind of see this corridor of where the heaviest rains will be. These are the areas that will see the daily severe weather. Not only do strong thunderstorms bring gusty winds and large hail, they also bring very heavy rain, and if you have several move over several days, that could quickly add up. So flash flooding across this alley is definitely concerning. Now there are a few other areas I do want to point out, which we'll talk about next. Notice across the west, we also have a lot of heavy rain. Before our storm system brings the dangerous severe weather early next week, especially that Tuesday threat, that storm is actually first off the Pacific and will be moving onshore California over the next few days, bringing some very heavy rain and snow. The other area to watch out, look at the southeast. Notice this rain hole. We have no rain expected over Georgia, Alabama, most of the Carolinas into Virginia. What's happening is our jet stream is dipping in the west, but it's kind of rising over portions of the east, leading to high pressure building over that region, which is really squashing our rain chances and actually really soaring our temperatures. Some record-breaking heat is expected over portions of the mid-Atlantic. So first let's talk about California, because this will be pretty significant. Later today on Saturday, storms and showers will start increasing, especially across middle and northern California as our storm system moves onshore. We kind of have a spin in the atmosphere. This is a pretty potent storm, but over California some heavy rain is possible, and in the mountains some pretty heavy mountain snow is possible, and the snow levels will be pretty low, especially as we get later on Saturday and Sunday. We're talking as low as 3,000 feet you could be talking about snow, and in the higher elevations we could be seeing multiple feet of snow. So this is a bit of a late season system, especially as we're heading deeper into spring and the rainy season kind of shuts off, but it's much welcome. We're seeing a little bit of some drought creeping in. It's been a very dry winter, and any last building of the snowpack will definitely help alleviate some of the concerns as we get deeper into the spring and summer months. Believe it or not, our storm system is strong enough that we have a tiny severe weather risk. San Francisco, San Jose, Salinas, California. Just watch out later on your day Saturday. It's pretty rare to get severe weather in California, but isolated gusty winds, large hail is possible. And then those mountains, the Sierra Madre Mountains, some pretty significant snowfall on the order of several feet. So if you're traveling through some of the mountain passes, definitely make sure you're paying attention to the weather, because it could be dangerous when the worst of the snow is falling on Sunday. The other story we wanted to talk about was the southeast and the mid-Atlantic, which are going to be pretty dry and warm. So all that energy and moisture over the central plains is due to the difference between our troughing in the west and the ridging in the east. But as a result, in the east, it's just going to be very dry and warm. And in fact, we're going to be into the 90s pretty far north. Look at this, portions of the mid-Atlantic, including DC, the Carolinas, we could be into the lower 90s on Tuesday with widespread 80s elsewhere. Wednesday, it could get even warmer. We have a 95-degree reading here, according to this model, in central Virginia. That's very warm for this time of year and almost summer-like. Prepare for a bit of a heat wave Wednesday. Even Thursday, some hot temperatures persist before some cooler air is possible toward the end of the week. We were talking about a lot of severe weather. I did hint at briefly discussing the weather past this week as we get deeper into April. So what several of our models are thinking is we're going to have a bigger push of colder air sometime next weekend into even further the week after, which would be beyond 7 days. So the final week of April. Look at this, we could get a bit of a bigger cold push. Now, just because we're so far out, there's a lot lot of uncertainty, but this could end some of the severe weather, bring some relief to the heat in the east, and bring a bit of a quieter stretch of weather, at least while that colder air lingers. We'll track this in the coming days and have more details, but just an early heads up at when we could see a potential pause in severe weather over the next few weeks. So we got a lot of severe weather concerns. If you're in the southern plains, watch out for the next few days, and really just the whole middle section of the country with the day-to-day severe weather concern. Each day could bring potential damage, potential dangers, so make sure we're not getting warning fatigue. Still pay attention and take all warnings seriously over this region, and make sure you have a way to get notified and stay alert. If you want more updates on the evolving severe weather, especially Tuesday. Again, Tuesday is the most dangerous day I'm looking at. I'll have another video on that, so subscribe if you don't want to miss it. We'll also have more updates on that potential pattern change later into April in the days to come. Thanks for watching. Hope everyone stays safe out there, and I'll see you next time.